Hello and welcome to the show. My guest today is Adam Schaeuble. He's the host of Podcasting Business School. He's also a course creator and one-on-one coach, helping bring people's dreams of launching and monetizing their podcast to fruition. His own journey began in 2015, before podcasts were really even a thing. And since then, his podcasts have generated more than 1 million downloads and $1 million in revenue. If you've ever thought about launching and hosting your own podcast or just want to peek behind the scenes, Adam is your guy. Welcome to the show, Adam.
Lisa, thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
You and I have been getting to know each other pretty well. I recently hired you for a big job, and you've done a really good job helping me stay focused. And so I want to talk a lot about your work as a podcaster and how you teach others. But first, I want to know how you even got into this, because you were doing it before anybody really was doing it. And it was back in 2015. So it's changed a lot in 10 years, but what brought you to it in the first place? What were you doing before you started having a podcast?
Yeah, the podcast origin story. So, yeah, I was a fan of podcasts. Back in, starting in 2003, I opened up a fitness studio. I was a weight loss coach, had, employees and clients and all sorts of things. And I started listening to podcasts in like 2012, and I became obsessed with the medium. I'm like, I really like this a lot. And my first idea was to launch a health-based show, like a weight loss show, to kind of expand. I was having a lot of success with my brand. It was my business, my brick and mortar business locally. And I was like, all right, let's do this podcast thing. Let's put it out there. And like you said, podcasting it was at a different stage. It was more like the stone age of podcasting. We were like, our microphones were made out of stone and things like that. We didn't know how to start fires or anything.
So given that information, so what made you think podcast during that time? I mean, there's advertising, there's radio, there's all these different things you could do. What made you think podcast?
I wanted to build my brand outside of my local community and create online opportunities, which at that point in time, I kind of saw the writing on the wall. I'm like, eventually I'm probably like, I've got 35 employees at that time. I've got 500 clients. I'm working lots and lots of hours. I'd worked myself into the hospital 3 times, but by that point, like passing out, exhaustion, panic attacks. And I was like, okay, I have a goal of eventually streamlining and maybe not having all of this. So I started dreaming about that. And I thought, with the podcast, I can reach people effectively and efficiently all over the world. And I have the opportunity, like I saw some of the podcasts that I was listening to. I'm like, they're generating online business all over the world via their voice. So that really intrigued me.
The thing too that I love about your industry in particular, or in any industry like this, you would think as someone in the, like, where you have to physically be present with them. I mean, you're a trainer, you're a health coach, you're all these things. And you think, well, I can only do that in person. And at that time back then, there wasn't a lot of it happening online. So it's an innovative undertaking, to say the least. And then to couple that with podcasting, additional innovation, what in your entrepreneurial spirit was just, because there are people out there who get caught up in the how, but what was your why for that time? Where all of these things of trying to figure out how to make more time for yourself and not be overworked, obviously.
Yeah, that was a big part of it. I had young children at the time, and I wanted to be able to create, my biggest form of motivation and compensation with this entire podcasting journey has been my schedule, my lifestyle I was like, okay, I think that I can, have a certain multiple of my income and get a lot of my own time back by leveraging online content, audio content, and coaching and serving people one to many. Versus, like you said, like I got to be at the gym at 3:45 a.m. setting up boot camp class and work with people. I got to be physically present. So yeah, that really motivated me to the point where I was like, all right, I'm going to kind of take a ready, fire, aim approach and just figure it out as I go. Like I had no idea what I was doing. I bought some different microphones and got them in. I was like, okay, I got to figure out how to plug in the microphone. That was, step number one, plug in microphone, start saying things into microphone. And
there wasn't all these options. There weren't all these options for where to order them from and then return them easily when they didn't work out. So you have, These days you
Yeah.
can buy something on Amazon, try it out, and if it doesn't work, you still have like 30 days or 100 days, whatever they let you
Yeah.
return it. So it's also a tech issue.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
can be a
And even
nightmare.
like recording platforms, like we easily just connected on Zoom, no problem. Right. And I don't even remember what I was using back then, but I remember it only worked about half the time where I would be doing an interview like this and imagine like we're just getting cooking 5, 7 minutes in, and then the feed would drop and the other person would be like locked out. They couldn't even access. And a lot of the times they would be talking and not even realize that the feed dropped, and they would just be going. All of a sudden, we're just in the ether.
They're
I'm
waiting
trying to
for
like,
your
I'm trying
response.
to text them and stuff. I'm like, the feed dropped. I don't know what happened. And we're
Uh-huh.
patchworking things like Skype plus Ecamm and making different things work together. It was so difficult, and like that's been the nicest thing about the evolution over the last 10 years, especially is like the tech, the connection, the content creation is so much easier now than it was back in the olden days.
I started in radio. I had a radio show started in 2008. And it was at that time a 90 plus year old AM radio station. So they had that part dialed in, but every once in a while we'd have tech issues for sure. And having the option for Zoom and having this option for communication, and there's obviously so many more options in Zoom. When you think about the tech and someone who's watching thinking, okay, well, I'm not a real techie person. Now, like you're very good at teaching, say, get this microphone, use this platform, pay for this, don't pay for that, making sure that your clients have, way ahead of the curve of what you started out in.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big believer in not overcomplicating this process because a lot of
100% you are.
people have that itch, like you had that itch of like, I want to start doing this, but then we see these giant brands and these really involved processes and like, oh my gosh, they've got thousands of dollars of equipment and like a studio, or they go and pay for studio space and all these things. And I'm like, okay, that's one option. But like, I'm always the guy on social media going, everyone's telling you to do video. But I'm the guy with a million plus downloads of audio only podcast, or, you know, everybody says you need this certain microphone. I've recorded 1,000+ episodes on a $97 microphone. I'm on a $97 microphone right now, and it
Mhm.
sounds just fine.
Yeah.
So like all these like contradictions, I like to like, well, my monthly budget is under $1,000. It's like all this different stuff. Like it can be as simple as you want it, especially if you're educating. You got to bring a baseline level of good content and energy and just educate. And if you're not storytelling and not doing this like meditation podcast, then does the audio have to be absolutely, like
Right.
studio professional level? No, we want it to be like not annoying for sure, but
Yeah.
it can be done in a much simpler way. And I love to teach people that path because I would like to see more podcasters podcasting and continuing their podcasting journey and not become frustrated and quitting.
Yeah. Tell us that statistic about how many podcasts go past the 10th episode or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's
Very few.
18%. So get past 10. And like there's been over almost 6 million podcasts that have been launched, but there's only about 10% of that is actually active, like active being defined as over 10 episodes and released anything in the last 90 days. So about 600,000 ish podcasters are actually podcasting, because you hear that a lot too. Oh, saturated. Lots of people have them. Yeah, lots of people do have launched a show, but very few, especially compared to blogs and social media, YouTube channels. Like there are millions of those and less than a million podcasters.
Well, one of the things that appealed to me about working with you is that, for one, it was audio only. I already do a show, a TV show, so we're on camera, and it's nice to not have to think about that sometimes. I mean, obviously, a TV show, I like doing it, we're doing it this way. But one of the things that changed for my show was during COVID, I had a studio at the station. Everybody did and does. But I came straight to Zoom quick because I knew how to do that. And then we all kind of went to Zoom, and then everybody went back when it was time to go back. And I said, hey, can I hang here? Because I was used to the radio days where I could interview anyone, anywhere, anytime. And that's kind of what my audience expects is, someone from wherever you live to where I am now to come all this way and have this conversation. And one of the things that appealed to me was the audio only, because a lot of times they say you got to have video to have content to promote your show. And coming to you, I had a podcast a couple of years ago. I was about 12 or 13 episodes in when I had a family tragedy and decided to go a different direction career-wise and not be in the patient and caregiver space, advocacy space. But so even though I'd had that launch and I felt like it was going well, the things that you teach are just so far beyond what I had thought for myself. And I hired you because you would help me get out of my own way, which is pretty hard to do. So you had your work cut out for you. Let's talk about that when we come back. We're talking with Adam. We'll be back in just a moment. Okay, Adam, we are talking all podcasts, and you have had a very successful run of podcasts, over 1 million downloads. You've made over $1 million doing what you do. You teach it, podcast business school, all the different ways to work with you. I chose the one-on-one route in a sprint and very specific outline of what we were going to do. So when you think about working with clients and you start to think, what is the basic thing for someone watching saying, okay, this podcast thing, I've been interested into it. I listen to podcasts. I want my own podcast. Where is the starting place for that person just starting to think about it?
Well, I think it always, like, the focus point should always be the content, how that impacts your ideal audience that you're trying to attract. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's backwards, like, I'm going to create content and the right audience will find me. And I'm like, maybe a little bit of that, but especially if you have online business goals like I did, I'm like, all right, here's what I can teach. And here are the types of offers I think I could develop. I need to create content that attracts my ideal fit potential client as my audience member. And so getting really clear on who you want to attract, and then what are their pain points? Like, what are they really struggling with? And I just put up a post on social media earlier where I was like, I teach all of my strategies for free on my show. I hold zero back, zero. Yeah. And people hire me to help them implement those strategies that are specific for their needs and in the right order and in the right cadence. So you get a lot of that in podcasting. You hear a lot of coaches going, oh, keep it at a certain 5,000 foot level. And then they pay you for like the in-depth stuff. And I go I go a little bit different than that with that advice, just because I feel like as a independent solo podcaster, a superpower is getting our audience addicted to our show. We become that person, that go-to pain point problem solver in their niche. Like, that's what we need to focus on more than, this like high level content and strategy stuff. So we got to focus on who you want to attract and the pain points that you can deliver on week in and week out, whether that's solo episodes, coaching episodes, interview episodes. If you can just create that content that they're like, oh, I got to show up every Tuesday for Lisa because the episode drops and I'm getting, my problems are being solved week after week by Lisa's show. That's what we want. Imagine
what we could do one-on-one together kind of thing, or let me get that course. And that's the thing too. I was just listening to one of your episodes and you're great to have them numbered. I don't remember the number, but Mike Milner was his name, about email marketing. And one of the things you guys both discussed is you're not gatekeepers in this industry. That's what we call it, when we're not going to tell everyone everything like you were just describing, because we want them to come to us for the rest of the answers. And I agree with your philosophy that give it, because we have it to give. It's not a huge effort for us to get on and turn on a mic and talk for 15 or 20 minutes. But yet it has huge reward for us and for potential clients or people who may never hire us. They can take that information, disseminate it how they want. It's going to take them a lot longer, and they may or may not have the stamina for it. So when we think about even what the offers that you're creating, so you said you wanted to be able to have online offers, you wanted to build an online business. Part of that is just starting. So you figure out, what questions are you answering over and over and over again? And so what do you think are some of the questions that you get asked over and over again for a starter?
So, I mean, with the launch of a podcast, it's always like, okay, here's my super cool name idea. and I've already got the art picked out. And I'm like, all right, well, let's see this, because that's the number one mistake I see podcasters making, is getting really creative with their name and their art and things like that. And you have to be kind of the opposite. You got to be really strategic. And you and I worked really hard together on this, because I want you to feel ownership over the branding and the naming and all that. and have some of your creativity infused into my specific formula. And that's like, I tell podcasters all the time, I'm like, you can name it whatever you want, but if you name it this cute, creative, inside
Pitch
jokey name,
Perfect podcast,
yeah,
for
I'm like,
example.
I mean, I told Lisa, if you go Pitch Perfect Podcast, that will be the number one reason why people do not find you. Do we want that or not? And it's kind of like when you have some cute creative name, you're basically saying, I would really volunteer. I really wanted to make this journey like 1,000 times harder than it needs to be. So let's do this.
Yeah.
So I use strong language with my clients. I'm like, listen, we can do this, but it will be 1,000 times harder to grow your show. Do you want that or not? Or do you want your ideal listeners finding you while you sleep? If that sounds more appealing, then let's come to the dark side and let me teach you the ways.
Well,
of
one
the
of the things
Jedi
you
over
said
here.
to me is like simple name, wow them with your content.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so I do get a chance to be creative, even if my name is not. I'm not going to tell you my name yet because I haven't launched yet, but it is definitely not Pitch Perfect Podcast. And I did the exact thing that you said you would steer your clients away from doing. You don't tell them not to do it, but I had the art ready and I'm like, hey, look at this. This is, and I mean, I worked for 2 hours on that art because what I tend to do is when I get a little lost or overwhelmed or uncertain of my next move, I just hang out in Canva. I mean, I can just hang out there for hours and feel productive when it's not money generating things. It's working on a podcast name and art for a name that's going to change.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
it's a waste of everyone's time, my time for
Yeah.
sure. And
100%.
so I wanted to also think about when people think about hiring a coach for what you teach. So explain the difference between the benefit of the courses that you create and the one-on-one approach or podcast business school. What are the differences between the things that you offer and who are they the best fit for? How does someone know which to choose?
Yeah. I mean, I have just been around long enough. I've got a pretty good little arsenal of ways that we can work together, but it's always a do it yourself, done with you, or like one-on-one access done with you. So done with you group format or done with you one-on-one access. And I like to keep my offers super simple. So the process is kind of the same. Like my podcast launch blueprint is the same, whether you just do the course and say, hey, I'm going to do this myself, or I'm going to tag in Adam and get some sessions, or we're going to spend a lot more one-on-one time together. So like that's when you're creating online offers as an online business owner, as an online entrepreneur, I think we tend to overcomplicate things. We create all these like side-by-side offers. It's like offer A through Z. You've got 49 options. And I like to have one, like I really just focus more on the pain point. And like when you and I were talking, I'm like, okay, the pain point is we got to launch this and optimize it for your business goals. That's the pain point. Okay, here's how we can solve that pain point.
Yeah, I want to work fast.
Exactly. And we were able to kind of customize some stuff and get it going. So I would just encourage people out there that are leveraging content creation to build an online business is focus less on building that next shiny offer and focus on, again, becoming known as the person that solves pain points within your niche. Get people into discussion and find out, what their pain points are and what their budget is to solve that pain points, and then create something for them and do business together and help them. And then collect testimonials and help them or let them help you sell that offer the next time.
Exactly. Yeah. Let's take a break. We have just a couple minutes left. I want to talk about the way that you're able to do this with very, very little social media, which is like, ding, ding, ding. Please show me how to do that. We'll be back in just a moment. Adam, we are finishing up with you. I want to talk real quickly about the difference between, the difference maker you are when it comes to how you use social media compared to how a lot of people who have a podcast use social media. Part of that is you don't even use video. So you're not constantly posting videos of the interviews that you're doing or of the solo or coaching interviews that you're doing. Or episodes that you're doing. So tell me then how you utilize social media to the very least, because you're all about saving time, right? And efficiency. So you have a strategy that is really made for that, for the person who doesn't want to spend a lot of time on social media.
Yeah. So that is Lisa.
That is me.
So when it comes to social media, I look at it a little bit differently. In most podcast promotion circles, you'll hear you need to be everywhere and leverage AI to be everywhere in all the platforms. And it takes time to do that or resources, like you got to outsource it or hire or figure out AI or whatever. And I'm not against AI whatsoever. But I feel like you can be on lots of platforms. You could probably show up for one, and the showing up part is important to where you need to be able to engage in conversations as a human being. You can only mini chat so many things. Like if you
Hmm.
show up and start answering questions, and again, be known as a pain point problem solver, big deal, big advantage. So experiment with different platforms, find one, maybe two that you can really show up on. For me, it's Threads. That's just kind of where it's ELF, easy, lucrative, fun. I'm getting clients out of there. It's easy for me to create content, and it's kind of seamless at this point. But we have to attract audience from somewhere. Our audience must grow. The show isn't going to grow itself. So we, instead of over reliance on social media and spending an abundance of time there, we leverage what I call organic discovery and SEO. Again, strategically leveraging keywords, the name of our show, in our podcast host description, and the individual titles of episodes, so that people are searching words on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, different podcast player apps, and our content is now showing up in front of them. So that's our discovery mechanism, instead of I got to post a ton of stuff all over social media and hope people discover me there. So that's, I get new podcast listeners while I sleep, and I wake up and there's more downloads, more people, more emails. But then they kind of go down the content pipeline, and some of them book discovery calls, some of them become clients and buy things from me. So I like minimal social media time, but really showing up on one platform, building expert positioning, and there is some new listener discovery there and new client discovery there. But really
That's how I
leveraging.
found you. I mean, I heard
Yeah.
you on a podcast, but then I started following you on Threads.
Yep.
And even your very first pinned post says, I show up here and give you tips 3 times a day. That's a commitment. Like you're
Yep.
going to be there 3 times a day. We're about to wrap up. So I want to make sure people know how they can get to you. The first way to get your expertise and wisdom and all the things that are Adam is your newsletter. And that's
Yeah.
free. And it comes every week. And I've been getting it and it's so good. And if I weren't already working with you, I definitely would have chosen to because of that newsletter. 100%.
Nice. Yeah. If you guys want to get on my newsletter, I create 2 pieces of content every week. Every Tuesday, new episode of Podcasting Business School that comes out wherever you enjoy audio. Every Thursday, fresh hot newsletter that's a different topic than my Tuesday podcast episode. It's always a different topic. And you can get on my newsletter at podcastingbusiness.school. And there's the little newsletter button right there. Click on it, and we can jam out, and you'll get all the goodness. And with the show, I highly recommend starting with episode 560. That'll kind of piggyback on some of the conversations we had, especially if you're thinking about launching. That's a great one to start with. Episode 560 of Podcasting Business School.
Now, if you are someone who's thinking about starting a podcast, you'll want to number them, like Adam says, so that you can say something like this, depending on who you're talking to, refer them to the show number because the titles. But that's one of your strategies. I never thought to do that. So I have episodes 001, 002, 003, and 004 complete, ready to launch with your help here in just a couple of weeks. Thanks so much, Adam, for being here.
Thanks, Lisa.